CAS model of leadership development places an emphasis on challenging ourselves, assessment or feedback, and getting support. We asked leaders in development to discuss how they have implemented this approach to build their own leadership capacity.
Second, we always have as a fundamental principle that we get feedback, and it's not me getting feedback from them so much as all of us getting feedback from the others and from the teams and from the field. And that has very specific reasons. This is a field-based organization. Where we make it or break it is in the developing countries, not here in New York. Here in New York, what we do is we elevate, we bring to intergovernmental discussions or interagency discussions, but where it matters is over there. And so we need the feedback as a raw material, as a prime element for our own work and decision making. So we always prompt, what have you heard in the field? What are people saying? What are people happy with this decision, or why are they unhappy about it, and how can we improve, etc., etc. And we have fairly sophisticated ways. We do pulse surveys for the staff. We do town hall meetings. We do video conferences with the locations that are overseas. We do. We have global staff surveys, which we then analyze and respond to with action plans on the issues that have been evidenced as needing redress. So there's a fair amount of work that goes on in terms of using the feedback for further action and for posterior improvement.
After many years of being in leadership roles, I only had my first 360 kind of feedback process a couple of years ago. And also after many years of being on various boards, I've recently had feedback from board matters on a board evaluation survey. And those sorts of areas of feedback come from your supervisors, your peers, your staff who directly report to you, people who you engage with externally in an employment role, on a board role. They come from your fellow board members, and I guess they're intended to improve the way you operate and to help plan development needs and so on. It's always difficult not to take them personally and to see any criticism as a negative response to you or a bad feeling about you. And so my advice there would be treat it as a constructive type of feedback. And I did find it really useful to find areas where your peers might differ from your direct reports, or that you have a slightly different way of interacting with different types of people, or this absolute validation of something you do by a range of stakeholders that you might go away thinking, have I done the right thing there? Is that the right way to deal with these sorts of things? And getting some positive reinforcement always helps, but I think the idea of those sorts of things is not to look retrospectively, not to say you did a good job in the last 12 months, but to think about the next 12 months and the next 5 years. And so if one's really serious about wanting to keep going ahead, then using that sort of feedback to challenge what you do, how you do it, why you do it, is a really, really useful tool. So I would highly recommend it.
We are talking about the CAS model of leadership development, and so I will give an example from my previous, from myself in terms of my working environment. Challenging myself to try new approaches, I think I have to do that every day. Currently in my current role, I help coordinate over 8 countries in sub-Saharan Africa, in Eastern Southern Africa, to be more particular. And these are different countries with different needs and different cultural backgrounds and experiences. And for me, I do challenge myself, like, for example, try this. If in a particular situation as a leader, I have to be more prescriptive, that is one of the approaches I would use in one environment. If it requires me to be more consultative and spend more time consulting in another environment, I do that. sometimes it's very easy to fall back to what you're very used to as a leader. If, for example, I'm used to doing things in one way, directing as opposed to listening to various views, it's easy to fall into that. But I do try and challenge myself quite a number of times to say that, okay, this doesn't work in this environment, or how could I improve? Maybe this worked in that situation in the last time and things worked well, but to be a better person as I continue to grow as a leader, how else could I be more open to receiving more feedback from different people? How could I be more open to trying out new approaches? Like someone tells me, okay, last time maybe you worked with the gatekeepers in a particular community and you got feedback from them, but have you thought about maybe just involving more people in a community and getting feedback from more people? So I do actually try and take away my personal comfort, what is very comforting for me to work in particular areas, and throw myself into the deep end, literally, and get feedback in terms of how I could do things differently. In terms of getting feedback as a leader, for me, I feel that that is very important. I have always projected myself to my colleagues in a way that I'm open to feedback. So always feel free to come and tell me what it is that I could always do to improve myself so that I'm able to better work with you. So if it's in terms of giving me written feedback or reflection processes where you come and tell me, have you thought about this and that, I've always had an open mind. I guess, as they say with feedback, it's up to you, how, as a receiver of feedback, you take some and you leave some out, depending on also how what you think about it. But I've always thought that it is important to have that sort of open door policy to be able to receive feedback from others. So one of the things that I've always said with the people that I work with, feel free to tell me what you think. I will not necessarily react immediately, because what I always do is take it in, then take that opportunity to self-reflect and think through, okay, this is what somebody felt. Do I feel that that is accurate? Or even if it's not accurate, how better could I work with them in future or moving forward? So I feel that is open to feedback. I've also given situations whereby if you don't feel comfortable giving me feedback directly, maybe give your feedback through somebody else. It could be a written form, or have someone else come and tell me, hey, have you thought about doing it this way and that way? But for me, I think feedback is one of the areas that has helped me grow as a leader. Had I shut that element of getting feedback out, I don't think I would have been career-wise or even individual-wise at a level where I am right now. So, which I feel is as a growth avenue that has happened for me. Yes.